Brazil finished its preparations for the World Cup here on Brazilian soil. At Maracanã, they beat Panama 6-2 in a night of great victory with a large crowd here at the stadium. I'm here with Marcio Yanaka, who watched this match with me. So Yanaka, what did you think of this send-off from the Brazilian people for the national team?
I thought it was two very different halves, right? In the first half, Brazil was very spread out in the midfield. The players were kind of far apart, and they gave Panama a lot of space. They started well, scored the goal with Vini Jr. And then I think the team kind of lost their way. That pressure wasn't there. They weren't pressing Panama's defense to try to win the ball back like they did in the play for the first goal. Yeah, and I think the second half was completely different. Yeah, we even mentioned up there watching the game that there are 11 players who came in, well, actually 10 who came in wanting to be starters for the Brazilian national team. Rayan scored the goal, and I think Igor Thiago also did very well. Paquetá and Danilo did very well. I think Paquetá, I think after his return to the national team, because he was away from the team for a while, he hadn't been called up. This was one of his best performances. He scored a goal. Danilo has consistently delivered strong performances for the national team. So I think Danilo is a player who has a great chance there.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Even before the World Cup started, he took a spot there in the midfield. And what really caught everyone's attention at Ancelotti's press conference is that he admitted that the team that theoretically is the starting lineup, the one everyone was talking about, might not be. That he might make changes to this team.
Cool.
And then there are several situations involved for him to make this change, like players' playing time. He said he noticed some players were more tired and worn out than others. So I think that's going to make a big difference. Yeah, to start the World Cup. The game against Egypt in Cleveland on the 6th, the last friendly already on American soil, he admitted that he might do the same thing he did in this game. Yeah, rotate the players, give some of them more minutes. Yeah, and I'm already starting to see some possibilities for changes.
Who do you think came in second half that could already...
I think Danilo is a player who has a great chance of being a starter. And then he would take Bruno Guimarães' spot. Bruno Guimarães was coming off an injury. Bruno Guimarães, in the last round of the English Championship, he also had a really bad flu, and he didn't train for a few days because of that. So he might be a player who's feeling it physically. So I think Danilo, right now he's in better form than Bruno. And I think that since they're facing Morocco, which is a really strong team...
It's the World Cup debut, right?
I think Igor Thiago has a chance to be a starter. I don't see who would leave for Igor Thiago to come in. Maybe Luis Henrique. Maybe he puts Rafinha on the right side, Vinicius on the left side, brings Mateus in to float around there, and Igor Thiago as an out-and-out center forward. So I think the Egypt game will be the one where he'll really decide in his mind who can be the starter or not for this team. And what he also mentioned was the versatility in this Brazil team. Yeah, and today he made it very clear that Brazil usually attacks in one way and defends in another. So Paquetá, for example, defends more out wide on the left side to help in the midfield, but when attacking, he switches positions there with Danilo. Yeah, so I think Ancelotti has a lot of variations in this team. There's also Neymar, who probably won't play in the World Cup opener, but that puts a bug in the coach's ear. Which I think he's the main player on our national team. If he's 100%, it's hard to imagine he won't be a starter on this team. Yeah, so we have to see the idea for building the team for the game against Egypt and see what Ancelotti is going to do.
I wanted to ask you about two specific players. One is Igor Thiago, as you mentioned, and the other is Rayan, a homegrown player from São Januário Vasco in Rio de Janeiro. Fans from all Rio clubs celebrated him. And he has a very important irreverence. At Granja Comary, he said in the press conference that his strong personality could help Brazil win their 6th championship. How do you rate his performance at Maracanã today, and do you think this helps his chances for a spot?
I think Rayan is a player who isn't fazed by anything. He's a player who just plays, he's that type who plays for fun. You see that he leaves Vasco, goes to the Premier League, to a team that's not even one of the strongest, and quickly stands out there as a starter for the team. You see that he plays for the national team, his debut, against Croatia. He also plays a decent match considering he had little time. And today Igor Thiago fights, recovers a ball, and he has the personality to take the shot.
It's not easy to take that shot, no.
No, it's not easy. People around me said, man, do you score a goal like that? I don't know if you do.
You don't, I know it, but you don't.
It was an easy ball to catch. Maracanã was packed, wearing the national team jersey, even though it was just a friendly against Panama. So he's a player who really catches my attention. I don't know if he's ready to be a starter, but I think he's the kind of player who can come in during a game and maybe surprise everyone during the World Cup, maybe get some opportunities, be decisive. I think he's a great asset. I was even joking about it the other day. You turn to the bench and look at the national team's bench, you have good options to put into the game. Igor, Thiago, and Paquetá, right? We're basically talking about players who aren't starters, correct?
Yes, yes.
Then you look, there's Hendrik, there's Paquetá, there's Danilo, there's Igor Thiago, there's Rayan. So you have players there who can change the game, right? Change the face of the game. And I think that's what Ancelotti really emphasizes, this versatility.
One thing we tracked closely at Maracanã today was the families attending the game. And I think it's really cool that Igor Thiago, who you mentioned, had more than 30 family members all wearing the same shirt. So it's a really nice atmosphere, really a farewell vibe, right? The farewell will also happen this Monday at the CBF headquarters and then at the airport. But I wanted to know from you, Yannicka, what impression do you think fans are leaving the stadium with today, thinking about this team that got everyone excited, right? Like it or not, the first half had lower intensity, but in the second half, the players showed more effort and played their game. How do you leave Maracanã feeling about the national team?
Look, if you finish the first half there at 1-1, I would leave this game a bit worried. Yeah, but then you see a change in the team's attitude. You see the team playing in a different way. Yeah, in the second half, with the changes, I leave here optimistic, mostly because of the variations we could see the national team has. And what I thought was really cool is that Ancelotti admitted that his team played too spread out in the first half, had trouble putting pressure on Panama. So that's what I found most important. Because sometimes you watch a game like this, but the coach thinks everything's fine. No, played well, he knows his team didn't do well in the first half, and he's aware that things got better with the changes. That's why he kept the starting lineup for the opener undecided. That's what I found most important. He'll run tests, observe training, and check if the player is physically worn out before deciding the starting lineup for the Morocco game. That was the key point for me.
And during the week there at Granja Comari, we had reported something, right? About the national team's training, that Wesley was one of the players Ancelotti talked to the most during practice, and Wesley had a great first half here at Maracanã. He did really well. In the second half, Ancelotti brought on Ibanez and Danilo, who switched positions several times. Danilo played center back while Ibanez was at full back, then they swapped again. Do you think that the right back position today after this game might make Ancelotti a little more comfortable with the options he has in the squad?
I think so. I believe the choice of Ibanez and Danilo for the fullback position instead of Wesley is mostly due to game situations. If he wants maybe keep a defender back a little more to free up the attack, I think it's more about game situations. But I think that as a starter in the World Cup, Wesley has shown today that he has improved both defensively and offensively. There's no question about Wesley. He's that sharp fullback. And I think that also works a lot in Wesley's favor. He's playing Italian football, right? Which is a style of football that prioritizes defense, right?
So
I think he's improving in that aspect, just like Cafu did, right? Cafu was also a very attacking fullback, and when he played in Italian football, he really adapted to having that strong defensive side, especially at Roma, right? So I think Wesley is likely to grow in that way. I think Ancelotti too, who I believe talked a lot with him during one of the training sessions, we found out that he had a long conversation with Wesley. So I think Wesley has everything he needs to improve and move forward. And I think for tactical reasons, he can use Danilo the same way he would use Militão, who would be the player that maybe...
He was here at Maracanã today. He came to watch the game, and it's really cool that he was present as well. It's worth reminding fans following on Lance. Ancelotti was missing Gabriel Magalhães, Gabriel Martinelli, and Marquinhos due to the Champions League final, and Neymar, who was at Maracanã but unavailable to play. We'll discuss the national team's number 10. He arrived with the others but was the last off the bus and got by far the biggest ovation from the fans. His family, father, wife, daughters were all there, making it a very relaxed moment for Neymar. We also followed the ambassador in the stadium throughout, whether during the warm-up, when he was on the field with the president of the CBF and the doctor of the Brazilian national team. He was celebrated by the fans. His name was shouted. During the celebrations, he went onto the field to celebrate with Rayan. He went there to celebrate together with him. How do you see, Yannicka, this atmosphere for Neymar and the national team? Of course, we have all this uncertainty about the future, about how his recovery will be. But I think the atmosphere of optimism is valued today at the CBF. I wanted to know your opinion.
He was almost the assistant coach. Yes, that's true. In some situations, there was that VAR incident with Casemiro's goal where he was gesturing and pointing at the big screen. Well, I'm not the best person to talk about Neymar because I've been around Neymar for a long time. So he's the kind of player who really does a lot of good for the team, you know? Yeah, the jokes. He has a really high-spirited vibe. So I think that Neymar in this group, even with this situation that Ancelotti has with him, of not having that certainty of being a starter, of not being the captain, I think he's going to handle that very well. And I think he'll earn his place once he's recovered naturally. It's not going to be something forced, it's going to be something that he'll gradually work his way into. Yeah, I believe from what I've observed from his expression, I think he'll be fit to play against Haiti. That's not official information.
It's just a guess, right?
It's a feeling from the way he is, the way he's been smiling, the way he's been handling his recovery. I think for the game against Scotland, he'll be on the bench. Maybe he'll come in at the end, get his first minutes to be ready to play against Haiti if needed. If Brazil needs it, they'll use Neymar. If not, they'll save him. He'll play in the...
And then he'll play in the knockout stage.
Just to remind everyone,
Neymar wasn't required to be on the bench today. He could have been in a private box with air conditioning with his family, but no, he wanted to be there and he celebrated his teammates' goals a lot. So, the Brazilian national team wraps up this journey, right, which started back at Granja Comary, and Lance was there following it, but it's not over yet. Lance will attend the World Cup in the United States. Marcio Dozão, Yanaka, and the Lance TV team will provide Brazilian fans with exclusive behind-the-scenes coverage. We will bring information directly from the United States. I want to thank Marcio Yanaka, Bruno Vasco, who is also here with us, and all the colleagues from Lance TV, and of course from our website as well. Thanks, Renato.
Marcio Dozão is already on his way to the United States, and I leave tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care.